knowledge of self is so important. If you know yourself, you understand your habits, if you understand why you think a certain way, why you feel a certain way, how you react in certain situations, that gives you a very high level of consciousness.
Welcome to the Conversations with Kai Mann show. I'm your host, Kai Mann, and this is the show where we bridge the gaps, one story at a time. And today I have my buddy, my friend, Chris Lee on the couch with me today. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm glad to have you. I've been wanting to have you for a minute. I've been watching you. I know you're busy doing your thing on 9, 10 a.m. How's it going?
That's going good.
Yeah?
That's going good. I am the co-host of Detroit Live on AM 910 every Sunday night from 7 to 9. It's an entertainment show. We kind of talk about politics a little bit, not political, but just kind of talk to people about the things that are going on in the black community and kind of get the vibe of the community and see what's going on.
Right. So I'm glad actually that you mentioned that. So we'll kind of get that out the way. Like, what is the vibe that's going on around here in the city of Detroit?
So the vibe that's going on right now in the city of Detroit, people are kind of looking for themselves, looking for their thing. There's a term that people use, waking up, and that's kind of a tired term. You hear people say that they're waking up all the time, but people are kind of getting on a different path. And I think that the consciousness, the collective consciousness of African Americans as a whole is kind of raising up.
And I believe that. I believe that as well. I've been looking at, of course, I'm on social media a lot, only because of the business and the nature of what it is that I do. But I've been noticing the term wake, and I kept wondering to myself, I'm like, okay, so 10, 20 years ago, with those people that were woke, so to speak, what would they be now? Like, what would they be now?
You know what? I would say people like to use the term elevate, but really we just kind of move to different places. We elevate some, but we just kind of move into a different spot and really have a different level of awareness. I really think that that's what it is, just a different level of awareness.
Now let me ask you a question. Now I know you to be one who's always elevating. But let's talk about the old Chris from, let's say, maybe in your 20s. What's the difference between the Chris that was in his 20s and the Chris that is now here today? Yeah,
so the Chris that you have in front of you today, I would say, is probably a lot more patient and compassionate. That's something that, you know, when you are, I won't even say you said me, you asked about me.
Right.
So when I was in my 20s, I had a certain belief system, and everything around me needed to somehow fit into that belief system, that the way that I was raised. Now I have an openness about myself to be able to understand the world better and understand people better, and that gives you a much wider view of the world, and so everything doesn't have to fit into this box that you were taught, you know, that I was taught in my 20s.
Right. Now that makes sense. It makes sense because as we learn and we grow, we realize that there are people who won't necessarily fit into those boxes, but we can actually sit and have conversation with them and still be a part of their lives. Because I think a lot of times what we do is, I have done in the past, put people in a certain box, and because they were in that particular box, I couldn't be in that box with them.
Right, exactly, yeah.
That was a totally different box. So now what I've realized, the same as you somewhat, is that based upon my religion and who I was at that particular time, it's a whole different, way of thinking. Elevation. When we talk being elevated, when we talk consciousness, what does that really mean?
That's a great question. So when I think of consciousness, it goes back to a raised level of awareness, a heightened intuition. Sometimes I do things or tell people things about themselves because I have the gift of intuition, and people are, oh wow, how did you know that? And it's really, no one has a special gift. Some of us have cultivated a gift and, you know, gotten to be really in tune with it. There's so much in the world that is meant to keep you kind of dumbed down and to kind of keep you distracted. The food that they sell us in fast food restaurants, the music, movies, smartphones, those are all things that kind of keep us numb.
Right.
And if you kind of move away from those things and just get an awareness and a certain level of consciousness and a connectedness with the universe, I think is the biggest thing as far as consciousness goes, is just having a connectedness and an understanding, because we were all, especially as African Americans that were raised up in the church, we were taught to believe things a certain way, and a lot of times that didn't jive with what we were feeling on the inside, but hey, everybody else is doing this,
right.
So I'm gonna stick with this is how it is. And then when you get an elevated consciousness and you're able to open and expand your mind and understand that things might not be the way that they said that this is how it has to be,
right.
To me that's like a really higher level of consciousness.
Right. So, and the reason why I'm going to ask this question, because a lot of times we hear the terms being elevated. We hear most often people will tell us what we need to do in order to be consciousness, into that realm of consciousness. But a lot of times we don't really understand really what that means. So when you say that we have to get connected to like the universe, and what does that mean? How do we connect to the universe? How do we do that?
Okay, two things. Meditation and knowledge of self. Knowledge of self is so important. If you know yourself, you understand your habits, if you understand why you think a certain way, why you feel a certain way, how you react in certain situations, that gives you a very high level of consciousness. And then meditating, meditating, and there's a couple different kinds of meditation. Sometimes you can meditate and just breathe and have a quiet meditation. Sometimes you can visualize. Sometimes you can talk to someone else, that's not there with you.
Right.
That's getting into like astral travel and some other things like that. But the one thing, the biggest lesson that I learned as far as consciousness goes is energy exists in a realm where time and space don't matter. So like we think consciously now, somebody's halfway around the world, and if you were to go there, it would take you, 20 hours on a plane or whatever. But when it comes to consciousness, when it comes to a thought or meditating or doing energy work, you can do that around the world instantaneously, because that other quote unquote dimension exists as a place where time and space doesn't really matter.
Right.
It doesn't exist.
Did you always know that?
I did not.
When did you know, and what happened to make you know that?
An accident.
Oh, really?
Yep. I was in a really bad accident in 2007. I was in a car accident and I got a mild traumatic brain injury. And it was something that really bruised my ego, because I always prided myself on being intelligent. And really, okay, if you want to really get real about it.
Let's get real.
Okay, let's get real. I was one of those guys that was so intelligent that I felt like I was better than everybody else and smarter than everybody else.
Wow.
And then to have that taken away from me, okay, because all of us need something to make us feel important.
Right, that's true.
Or elevated.
Right.
And so to have that accident, have that taken away from me, that was very humbling for me. But after the accident, the one thing that I noticed was a heightened level of intuition and a different understanding of how the universe works. And that was like mind-blowing for me.
Wow. So in this newness of being, did you find that it was hard, or was it just easy to kind of move into that space?
It was very difficult. Yeah, it was very difficult. Being raised as a Christian, and all of a sudden you've been told your whole life that anything having to do with things that are unseen, anything having to do with the spirit realm is demonic. If you have intuitive abilities, that's something, no, that's not from God. And then, so to have that happen to you and you didn't ask for it, you didn't try to develop this or anything, and so it creates a conflict. It created an internal conflict for me. It's like, what is going on here? And it challenged my belief system. Yeah, it really challenged my belief system. But challenging my belief system is something that really helped me grow quite a bit as an individual.
Wow. So what was the first thing that you had to do away with in your thinking?
The first thing I had to do away with in my thinking was putting the label on everything as being good or bad or good and evil.
Wow. And then why that though?
Because everything in the universe is relative.
That's true.
Yeah, it's relative. So there are very few things that are absolute evil. It really depends on perspective. You know, and even when you see people that do things that are evil, even most of the time the reason behind it is not anything evil. You know, like as Americans, we sit here and a lot of Americans will say, you know, Muslims are terrible, we got to keep them out of the country. Well, there's probably a Muslim somewhere in the world saying, you know what, Americans are terrible. And I'm not siding with them, but there's somebody somewhere saying Americans are terrible. And there are probably people around the world that can tell you horrible stories that America did to their country that we don't even know about.
Right.
So everything is, everything's relative.
Wow. That's so true. That's so true. When you think about that period and that time of your life and you're growing from your old way of thinking into a new way of thinking, share with us something that was kind of like traumatic for you.
Okay. Something that was traumatic for me. I would say when it comes to intuition, one thing that I am really in tune with is emotions. And so to be able to have an awareness of people's emotions, regardless of what's coming out of their mouth, if you're in their energy field and you can feel what's really going on with them, that was tough for me. Because, you know, I could be sitting here as friends and we're talking, and in my head I might be saying, man, I really want to go home. I've been here for 20 minutes and I just want to go, you know, and that's what I'm saying in my head. And so to like have the ability to know that that's what that person is feeling, you might not know for sure, but that was tough for me because you have to, you know, decipher and kind of just let that be. And not take, because at first it was like always trying to fix everything, but some stuff you just have to just let it be. You know, it is what it is, and you just have to live with it.
Wow.
You know,
that kind of reminds me of, you know, how you watch these movies when people they know what the other person is thinking.
Yeah,
Drive them nuts.
Right. Yeah.
That's what that reminds me of. I've known you for quite some time now, and I've seen you host. We were both hosts on UrbanNationRadio.com. Yes. And you had an amazing show on UrbanNationRadio.com. I thought that you were such an amazing person. Your spirit and the way that you were able to help people move into different spaces. I remember I used to watch your show, like literally watch your show. You talk about Universal Synchronicity. What is that? Universal Synchronicity is the concept or idea that everything in the universe is happening for a reason. The universe is getting you what you're asking for, me what I'm asking for, someone else what they're asking for, and it all ties together. It all comes together like a puzzle piece. We tend to think of things as humans, we tend to think of things in a linear manner. This thing, that's it over there. I'm headed in this direction, you're headed in that direction. But in actuality, it's a jumbled bowl of spaghetti. And some things that I might be going for might synchronize with what you want, and we might cross paths and help each other, and somebody else wants this, and it just all kind of comes together. Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. We're going to take a quick break. This is the Conversations with Kai Mann show. I'm your host, Kai Mann. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Hello, Detroit, and welcome to the secret society of twisted storytellers, where real people tell true stories live on stage. No notes, no poetry or Dr. Seuss, just the truth from their lips to your listening hearts and minds. Stories so raw and revealing, so hilarious, human and healing, they will move and inspire you. Take a break from what you usually do. Come out, connect, meet old friends and new. Every third Friday at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. Visit www.secretstorytellers.com to watch videos and for info and tickets today.
Elevation Nation Media Group, an entertainment agent for media coverage and access. We create and produce inspired development video and audio content, such as films, short films, documentaries, talk shows, transformational reality shows, radio shows, podcasts, PSAs, commercials, video profiles, and video resumes. Why Elevation Nation Media Group? Because we elevate you by any means necessary. Contact us at www.elevationnationmedia.com.
And we are back. This is the Conversations with Kai Mann show. I'm your host, Kai Mann, and this is the show where we bridge the gaps one story at a time. And today we are listening to Chris Lee's story. You had this accident that brought on this amazing gift. Actually, the way I think about it, that it was already there.
Yeah.
I think it was already there, and that the accident just kind of brought it into kind of like manifestation. How has it been for you now as you're getting older and you're walking into these different spaces of who you are as a person? How hard is it to transition from one phase of life to the next phase of life, or is it?
I would say it's only hard. The transition is only hard if you make it hard. You know, you just have to be open to change, because that's just a part of life. Right. I mean, you think about the seasons. You know, each season is 3 months, and that's it. When it's gone, and you're into a new season. And you just have to kind of roll with the punches. I think people make it hard because they resist change. Because again, we've been taught everything is linear. You start here and you go there, but really life is, you know, all about the thing. Right. You know, whatever your thing is, it's all about the thing.
Right. What's your thing?
You know, my thing is, I want to make people think outside of the box. I want to change their thought process and challenge their belief systems. Some people are going to watch this and say, here's some of the stuff I say, and say, man, that's weird, that's far out, that's crazy. And some people are going to be like, you know what? I think he's right. Because really, when we link up with other people that are working on themselves, elevating, and have a high level of consciousness, it's not that we're presenting something that they never heard before. We're presenting something that they already knew was true, and they just needed some confirmation.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, so that's the thing. A big thing that when I used to do coaching, my big thing was like figuring out your emotions and healing from your emotions. And being a member of the media, you can't really get like super deep, so you have to kind of find ways to do it. You present it as a part of a script in a TV show, as a character in a book or something like that, or conversations like this.
Right.
You know, you can tell somebody your story and just kind of let them kind of glean the morsels that they need for where they are in their life, you know, and put to use in their own personal life.
What do you find is the hardest for us to really grasp when it comes to wanting to elevate or be more conscious?
That it always comes back to you. We like to, just by nature, be the victim. You know, this is human nature. We just always want to be the victim. And when you start like kind of taking pieces of it and dissecting these situations, there's always a role that we played in it. And there's always something that we, not necessarily something that we could have done, but something that we can do to kind of help ourselves move past the situation. And that's hard because we all have an attachment to our stuff. You know, so-and-so did this to me, this happened to me, that happened to me. Especially as African Americans, we're attached to our stuff. You know, and so when you get an opportunity to grow and get past something or get over something, that's hard. Yeah. That's very difficult to do.
It is. How do we begin to kind of like get over our stuff? Forgiveness of ourselves,
forgiveness of the people that we feel like have wronged us or whatever. You know, I talk to people, and the biggest thing that I see right now when I talk to people, especially among African Americans, are people that are quote unquote church hurt, that have pains from, you know, from growing up in a church or whatever. People, and there are a lot of people who feel a certain way as far as their sexual orientation, that feel like they can't come out, or they're afraid to come out. You know, they won't be accepted by their families. A lot of African Americans feel like the stack is the deck is stacked against them, and that might be true, but you got to find a way.
Right.
You know, you got to be like water. Water finds just another way to get to where it's going. And I would say, for the most of the people that I talk to, you might ask somebody else who with a different crowd, but there's so many people that basically are holding back from being their true selves for one reason or another. And I think that frees up a lot of brain power to focus on what you want. Because if you're spending half your day saying, you know, I'm this, or I am looked at as this, but I really want to be this, I'm really this, that takes a lot of brain power every single day. If you're thinking about, man, I wish I could do this, I wish I could be this, I wish they knew how I really felt.
Yeah.
You know.
So let's talk about you. Like, what was it that you had to forgive yourself for?
What did I have to forgive myself for? You know, I played the blame game. I work in radio now. I love radio. It's been my passion since I was a kid. And I played the blame game. Over the years, there were a lot of people who said, well, they wouldn't let me do this. Everything from your parents to teachers and things like that. So I played the blame game. There were a lot of people that I blamed for holding me back or not letting me do anything, but I know now, and you know, that if you want something, you take it. And, you know, for everything, there's actions that go along with that, reactions or whatever. I wouldn't necessarily call them consequences, but you just have to determine whether or not that's worth it for you. Yeah. You know, yeah.
So now that you're on the radio and you've got all these amazing things that are happening to you, what has been the space where you can say, okay, I'm moving from the blame game into now the space where I know that I can get it, and I'm actually going after it and getting it. So in that particular space, what was the thing that happened to you to make you realize that you were blaming and now you can actually move into a different space?
You know what? Experiencing fear. Experiencing the fear of, I have a clear path now to get what I want, and I'm kind of scared to move forward. That was like a big deal. It was a big deal for me. Because I tried a bunch of different things and none of it worked out. And then when I got in a position to get where I am now, I was like, okay, here it is, go get it. And I was like, you know, it's kind of like, you ever see like a dog that's like always running through the yard and barking at everybody, and now the gate is open, and the dog's like, okay, what do I do now? That's kind of what it was like for me. Because, you know, the way that I was raised was to be docile and to be submissive and to be obedient, and that doesn't get you anywhere in life. Not at all. You might get some people patting you on the back. You're a nice guy. But nice guys really do finish last. That's true. That's the truth.
That is. And I'm glad you said that, because that's true. I believe for our age bracket that we were like raised that way. And in business, when you're trying to move into a different space, you got to be almost a beast.
Oh, you do. You do, yeah.
To like move into these different spaces. So how did you go from being docile to a beast?
That's a very good question. I think I just reached a point where I felt like enough was enough, and I'm just not taking no for an answer. I'm not being anybody's sidekick or anything anymore. This is mine. This is what I want. I'm going for it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what happened when you did?
I started getting what I wanted. I got on the radio, and had some other opportunities with another television show that I do. I don't do it as much. It's called Lights, Camera, Culture, and with a great group of people. That was through the city of Detroit, and just all these doors started opening for me. And
So basically, you just stepped out and took what was yours,
exactly.
and then everything just kind of opened up. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So many people tend to be afraid to make that first step.
Yes.
And it's the hardest. It's the hardest step for a lot of people. What could you say to someone to help them to take that first step? Just step out, put a toe out there.
Yep. The old Nike phrase, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. It doesn't. Even if you think you're not ready, just do it, and don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
That's the best way to learn something, is to try and fail, to just totally bomb out at it. I never really pursued it, but one of the other things that I'm gifted with is being able to come up with raps off the top of my head.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just freestyle raps. Give me a couple drinks and a beat, and I'll put on a show for you. And I remember, the first few times that I performed live, I was in junior high school. It was terrible. I got booed off the stage. It's terrible, But it's like, okay, no, just keep going.
Right.
Keep trying, and then the thing that you were afraid of becomes second nature.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm always watching YouTube, and I watch all these motivational videos. And there was one with Will Smith, and he was saying how that he and some friends had gotten together, and then of course there might have been some drinking involved. So they all agreed that the next day that they would go skydiving. And he said when he got home or back to his hotel, either one of them, that he thought about it. He was like, well, they were drunk too. Nobody remember.
Yeah.
He said he couldn't go to sleep just in case. He kept thinking about, just the fear of what it was that he was going to do. The next morning, same thing. But when they all got together, they are all trying to act like, nobody's afraid of whatever. But he said that once he did it, once you're standing there, actually, before you actually jump, that the person, I don't know, some person is standing there and they're counting them down, and they tell them on 3 you're gonna jump. So they go 1, 2, and on 2 they push them out because they know on 3 they're gonna grab. Right. Yeah. So he said, once you're out there, he said the first thing I thought of, wow, this is beautiful. And he said that he thought about the whole time, all the night before, even going to do this, that he was so afraid. And he said he wonders how many times that we're so afraid to just do something, and we spend all this energy being afraid rather than just doing it or not doing it. What do you say to the people that have that fear, that constant fear of just taking that first step out?
And this is much easier said than done. You have to get into a space where you are comfortable with that fear. Because I have a mentor, and this mentor is a millionaire. And I was talking to him one day, and I said to him, I cannot wait until I get to your level, and then I won't have to worry about all this stuff. And he says, no, Chris. There's a new devil at every level. And he says, as a millionaire, there are concerns and fears that I have that I didn't have when I was not a millionaire. And he said, you have to get used to living with the fear. You have to. Because there's always going to be something. It has to be something that is there, and you just kind of acknowledge that it's there, and you just do what you got to do.
Right. I say that too. I use the term of being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Because there is a lot of spaces where you end up having to be, you know, that beast, and you may not always be wanting to be that beast, but you got to come out and do that. I realize a lot of times when we're like moving into the space of being entrepreneurs, you are constantly put in spaces where you've never been before.
Yeah. And you know, something else that I would say too, find somebody that's done it before and seek out their advice. You know, people think you can do everything on your own. No, you can't. Ask somebody that's done it before for their advice. You know, I have a couple cousins that have done radio before and have been entrepreneurs before. And, you know, unfortunately, I lost one of my family members, but he and I reconnected after so many years. And we sat in the lobby of his hotel until 4 o'clock in the morning, and he pretty much gave me a career blueprint for it. I told him what I wanted. He pretty much gave me a career blueprint. And he said, well, don't do this, this, and that. And the stuff he told me not to do are the things that I was going to do. And he's like, no, you're going to waste your time. And, you know, so it was nice. It cut time off the learning curve to have a mentor.
Right. That's true. That's true. And we're going to talk about that more when we come back from our break. This is the Conversations with Kai Mann show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Focus One Entertainment is Detroit's premier entertainment company. But we're not just an entertainment company. We are your #1 multimedia resource. Focus One has combined years of talent and experience in order to bring you what you're looking for in a video, a polished professional product. F1 Entertainment specializes in filming workshops, seminars, and corporate presentations. More and more businesses are utilizing video production services to create webversions, online marketing content, and promotional and corporate training videos. Your company can do the same with Focus One Entertainment. Contact Focus One Entertainment at 313-444-3638 or visit us on the web at www.focusoneentertainment.com.
And welcome back to the Conversations with Kai Mann show. I am sitting here with Chris Lee. I'm so glad to have you on the show. I'm glad you came.
I know. And I haven't seen you in a while.
I know.
I was glad to see you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, when I asked you, I thought about it. I'm like, I hope he's not too busy. It would be so nice to actually just sit and
I know.
have a
Exactly.
conversation with him.
Exactly.
We used to do that.
We did. Yes.
We used to do that.
Yes.
I gotta miss that, Chris.
I know. When we were at Urban Nation Radio, we always
Right.
run into each other all the time. Yeah.
And have good conversation.
Yeah.
I want to get back into, right before the break, you were talking about kind of cutting off some of that that learning curve.
Yeah.
A lot of us do that, where we think of these amazing ideas and we don't consult anybody. I know.
Yeah, I've done it before. I've done it before too.
And here it is. There are people that or resources that we can use that will help us to kind of move away from that and move into where it is that we're going faster. So tell us about that learning curve for you.
So the learning curve is shortened by a couple of things. One is by getting a mentor, someone who's done it successfully before, and also reading a book. Buy a book about something, read a book. There's YouTube, there's Google. There's a section of Google, and when you were talking, I thought about it, but I think it's called Google Scholar, where you can get books about everything and just read those books. The only advice I would give with books is skip to the part that you need. You don't have to read the whole book. That's what I do. I just skip right to the part that I need for what I need to do right now.
Right.
And I'll get back to the rest of the book. But don't get so bogged down with that you are spend the whole time just reading books. You got to get out there and learn. You know, you learn by doing. And that's kind of part of how you become a beast. Because the biggest thing for whatever your thing is to build your level of confidence. And when you get your level of confidence where you want it to be, you were untouchable at that point.
Right. That's so true.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. I'm a YouTuber. Like, I'm a YouTube scholar.
Me too. Yeah. There you go. There you go.
YouTube scholar. I got a PhD in YouTube, and I watch a lot of videos. I watch a lot of different videos, and I notice how everyone has their own niche.
Yes.
A lot of people want to do specific things, and they have no idea how to find their niche. How would you tell somebody to find their niche?
You know, there's two schools of thought. There's the one school of thought where people say, figure out what you love and do what you love. That's not always the best advice.
That's true.
Yeah, so maybe nobody's doing that because there's no money to be made at it. And don't be ashamed of the fact that you're in it for the money.
Right.
So many people, I hear so many entrepreneurs, I want to help save the world. Save all the dogs in Detroit. And I'm starting a GoFundMe campaign.
Right.
$5. Just give me $5. Don't be ashamed to make money.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that people are afraid to say that that's... Because, I mean, you can't really help anybody or a lot of people unless you have money behind you to do it.
Yep. It's conditioning by society. You know, that Bible scripture that gets turned around that says money is the root of all evil.
Right.
Which is not at all what the Bible says. And then so many people in society are raised to believe that rich people are bad, they're greedy, they're this, they're that, and you got to get past all of that.
Yeah.
Go get your money. That's right. Go get your money.
I know, that's right. I have a lot of people that say that. Okay, and another one too. And I'm trying to really figure out, and this might sound bad, but I'm really trying to figure out, okay, when you help, they say when you help a lot of people that, you know, that'll help you come up. Yeah. You help enough people. What's the saying? You help enough people.
Help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
Exactly. So how do you help enough people to get what they want and so that you can get what you want? Like, how does that work?
I do not subscribe to that philosophy.
Okay.
I personally do not subscribe to that philosophy. There is, so like a lot of people have this level of expertise, but you have to build up a business acumen as well. And for every business, the biggest need for no matter what you're doing is leads, is a way to generate business. And I would say figuring that out is like the master key to, you know, because I used to be a wedding DJ, and I got to a point where I was getting so many referrals that I was turning business away because I can't, you know, I'm booked up Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that I help people in the sense of I help make their event special. So I help people that way. So I guess in that way you could look at it. Don't look at it in a way that you have to help people for free to get what they want, because you'll get what you want, but it'll be for free and you won't. You know? Yeah. Right. Just figure out the money part and don't be unabashedly figure that part out and go for that part. You know.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot of people want to move into that space, but then yet and still they're in that help me phase of it. And I just kind of wondered, like, okay, so when is it that you get what it is that you really want?
Exactly, yeah.
You know?
And, you know, a big part of it, going back to knowledge of self, is figuring out what you want to do. Is figuring out your why.
Right.
So you might say, I want to do this, and then you figure out your why. And so this is the part where people get misled. Your why, even though I said, get the money part right, your why has to be something that motivates you on a deep, deep level. So on a Tuesday morning when it's cold and snowy outside and you want to stay in the bed, what is going to make you get up and go get it? On a Friday night when your friends are going out to the bar and you know that there's something that you need to do, what's going to make you say, I'll catch you guys later, and you go work on your business or your thing? That has to be your why. You got to find kind of like a burning desire, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
that thing that makes you work 7 days a week, even on your birthday. That's
Exactly,
me.
yeah.
That's me. What are you doing for your birthday? Working. And people don't understand that. But I have to be honest in saying I actually love what I do. So to me, it's not really work. You know, the only thing for me maybe is that, you know, sometimes you get a little bit tired. How do you stay up, do what it is that you're doing, and still be able to perform? How do you balance yourself out?
I would say probably meditation, and then taking time to rest and like totally unplugging. So sometimes if I'm tired, my show is on Sunday night, and sometimes I do other television shows. We might have a remote. I do a lot of writing. When it's time to rest, I'll unplug. I'll sign off of Facebook. I'll put my phone somewhere else in the house and just go to sleep. And people be like, I called you. Sorry. It's my rest time. You know?
I hear you. I hear you. And sometimes some people, it's so hard for them to unplug. Like you were talking a little bit earlier, I think the first segment, when you were talking about how that it was a distraction for us and how we've been conditioned to be dumbed down. Like we have all the TV, we have our smartphones, we have all this stuff going on. How do you kind of persuade yourself to not utilize those materials all the time?
It has to be a conscious effort.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I see people, like when I'm downtown, you know, there's a lot of millennials. And people always pick on millennials, but, you know, same way they used to pick on the Generation X.
Right.
And I see people, and any free second they have, they reach in their pocket and pull out their phone. Push the button for the elevator while they're waiting for the elevator to come. They pull out their phone. So you know what I do? And I have a book out in the car. I'm reading the 4-Hour Work Week. And I do the same thing, except I do it with my book.
Wow.
So I'm in line, waiting for coffee, whatever. I pull out my book and I read a few pages of my book. And it has to be a conscious effort. Because we've been trained to do that. You know, everybody look at that. Everybody look at your phone. So yeah, just put it down.
Right. Wow. Yeah. I'm going to have to try that.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of those people. I'm not going to lie. I'm constantly with my phone in my hand. And I'll catch myself and I'm like, why do you? Well, I got so much work, and that's what I'll blame it on.
See,
like,
now,
I have so much work to do.
Yeah, and if you're like checking email and stuff, that's different. And this is the one thing that I will say too. Don't be hard on yourself, because some days I am that guy. And it's okay. Some days and some nights I'll sit in the bed and just Instagram all night. Look at Instagram. But like I went from being that guy 6 days a week or 7 days a week to now I'm that guy, you know, maybe 1 day out of the week. You know, and anything that you can do to improve just a little bit, to make a change just a little bit, that's very important. It doesn't have to be a big, humongous change all at once. If you can just, for 3 or 4 hours, put your phone down and read a few pages of a book, and when you start seeing some type of a change, some type of progress, then it'll motivate you to continue to do the same thing. But don't be hard on yourself. Some days it's like that.
Right.
You know?
How do you continuously go for it? How do you continuously every day tell yourself that I'm going to be better today than I was yesterday? What are the steps that you take in order to do better and be better every day?
I do a lot of planning. There are days when I disappear, and I might be at a library or a coffee shop making my plans for the next 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. Every time there's a full moon, I find somewhere to look at that full moon, and I kind of write some intentions down and speak them into that full moon. I think that that's very effective. And then something where you are measuring yourself against something, that helps me a lot, to look back and say, oh wow, I was only reading 2 pages of this book a day, and now I'm reading, this week I've read 100 pages or whatever. Or if it's like a business, you know, you got to have something where you can look back and say, wow, look how far I've come. Because your mind is always looking for evidence of everything that you say you are or whatever, your mind is always looking for some type of point of reference. So you have to give it a point of reference and say, wow, this month, the first month that we did this, I only made $50. Right. And now I'm consistently, and celebrate the little things. Even if you have a business and you're only bringing in $200 a month, that's $200 a month that you didn't have before.
That's true.
So even the slightest thing, celebrate it. Mm-hmm. That's something to be, proud of. Yeah, because you're breaking out of a mold that society has kind of forced you into. Mm-hmm. But naturally, especially African Americans, naturally are inventors, are creatives, are entrepreneurs. That's in your DNA. Mm-hmm. If you have this melanin, this pigmentation, that's in your DNA.
That's true. So
just, hey, go with it.
Yeah, we do hustle, don't we?
Yes, we do.
We'll hustle in a minute.
That's right.
We have been conditioned, like you said, we've been conditioned to think certain things about ourselves. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we have people who want to move into a different space, but then they can't. They have these relationships, they have these children, they have these whole lives that are, kind of dependent upon them moving into that other space. But then it also kind of is a distraction. How do we move from that? Like, how do you move into the spaces that you're supposed to move into if you've got, these close distractions that are happening?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that kind of goes back to just finding a way to get even if it's just an inch.
Just an inch.
Yeah. Even if it's just one little inch, if you can just move forward just a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. Like, it's like a turtle. A turtle walks slow, but you leave it alone for an hour, it's halfway down the block. Right. You just have to find just a way to just figure it out, to just do it.
Right. How do you speak to patience and what it is that you do?
Patience is extremely important. We live in an instant gratification society, and most of the things that people have worked for, they've put a lot of time in. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the success comes after years and years of not having any success at all. Again, life is not linear.
Right.
We think, well, at 5 years, if you're trying to be a millionaire in 10 years, in 5 years you should have $500,000. Right. No, if your plan is to be a millionaire in 10 years, you might not become a millionaire until 9 years and 10 months.
Right, that's true.
But you'll look back like, was it worth it?
Right.
Yeah, of course it was.
Right. It has been amazing to actually sit here and have a conversation with you.
And this went by so fast.
I know. We got to do this again.
I know, yes.
We got to do this again.
Yeah.
So tell us where we can find you.
Yep, you can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/ChrisLee111. You can hear me every Sunday night on the radio on AM 910 Detroit Live. I am on Instagram and Twitter at Radio Host Chris. Follow me, I follow back unless you're talking crazy. I ain't into no drama. I don't do no drama. But if you're all right, I'll follow you back.
Awesome. Well, I thank you again for coming on the show. I appreciate you. We'll
thank you for having me.
You are quite welcome. This has been the Conversations with Mann show. Thank you and good night.